John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Serious testing, successful hunting. I've got another cool broadhead to test here today, and thanks to a viewer, Matthew Baker, who donated this head, I'm able to put it to the test. Thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate it when viewers sacrifice to buy and send me a broadhead to test, because everybody benefits from it. So thank you, Matthew. But this is the B3 1.5 big game broadhead. They call it the big game broadhead because it has a relatively small cut and can penetrate further. That's the theory behind it. So I'm going to be putting it to the test using my regimen for 2024. And for a detailed description of that, please check out the video that I posted earlier this year called 2024 Broadhead Test Process. And it'll explain all the different tests I do, why I do them. And I keep repeating this because some people ask me questions all the time, actually, that are included in that video. And so please just check out that video. It's like 10 or 11 minutes, and it'll really catch you up to speed. And also for all the shooting, I'm going to be using my Elite Era compound bow that I'm just loving this year. And I'm also using a Killer Instinct SWAT X1 crossbow that is as fun as anything I've ever shot to shoot. Okay, love that thing. And I'm using all Bishop Archery arrows and bolts because they're up to the task. All right, let's zoom on in here and check out this B3 1.5 big game broadhead and then put it to the test. Here's a good look at this broadhead. It spins very well. It looks like it's put together quite well also. So what you got is, first of all, the materials, all steel. You got a steel ferrule and you've got steel blades. In terms of the cutting diameter, when these blades are opened, they have a cutting diameter of 1.5 inches. That's why they call this the big game model, because it's designed for maximum penetration with that relatively shorter cut of 1.5 inches. Now, in addition to that, you're getting the cut of the ferrule, which is like 0.17 inches as well, kind of functions like a bleeder. Get a little bit of a cut on top of that, but a relatively narrow cut, again, to maximize penetration. Now, let's back up a bit and talk about how these blades deploy. So it's a front deploying or over-the-top deploying broadhead, meaning they're not rear deployed, so you're going to get a little bit of a smaller, or quite a bit smaller, entrance cut. Usually, an over-the-top deploying head, the entrance cut is the size of it in the closed position, because it's after, or as it penetrates the hide, that these blades are pulled back into their opening position. Now you notice that there's no O-rings, there's no collars or anything like that, which is really nice. The blades are held in place just by kind of a friction snap right there, which I really like, and they say it's crossbow approved. We'll see as we test it in that way, but that you can shoot with a crossbow and they're going to stay in the closed position. So upon impact with a medium, these heads or these blades are going to kind of peel back like this into their full open position of 1.5 inches. Now you notice additionally that these blades are not in the same plane. That's like a lot of the B3 heads. So you're getting a bit of an offset cut, and that's just going to make a more wicked wound channel. You got like one cut up here, and then a little bit down below, a little less than 0.2 of an inch, you got another cut going there. And they're curved to give a more efficient cut. And what that means is you're getting more blade kind of as it goes past the surface than you would if it were just a straight blade. And so there's more edge, which means it's cutting kind of less. Each part of the blade is cutting less, so it's going to keep its edge longer than just a straight blade would and make more efficient cutting. So as it penetrates, it will continue to hold that edge a little more effectively and thus penetrate better and cut tissue more effectively. The blades can be easily replaced individually right there, which I really like. You just undo that and put on a new blade. They're really easy to do in that way. Like the really stout overall ferrule here and that tip, it just seems like it's going to be a pretty durable design. The length of the broadhead from the end of the arrow is 1.3 inches, so relatively short for a mechanical. And the blades are 0.032 inches thick, so pretty standard thickness right there. I'm really looking forward to putting this head to the test and seeing how it performs. The B3 1.5 got the solid 9 ring. It took 168 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 10 on a 10-point scale, plus a bonus for being under the threshold of 200. It penetrated 8 3/4 inches, which is a 9.73 on a 10-point scale. And here's the entrance hole, which is just the head in the closed position, that 0.6-inch cut across. After it went through the rubber foam mat and the MDF, you can see it was fully opened and stayed that way through the rest of the gel. It took an additional 105 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 7.9 on a 10-point scale. It penetrated through 55 layers, which is a 7.86 on a 10-point scale. And it's important to note that last inch is just from the long ferrule and not from the blade action itself. And the head's in very good shape after the 3 shots through the MDF. The only damage is the blades have curled back a little farther from their original position. So their total cut diameter has shrunk a bit due to a bit of bending in that MDF. And here it is after just 1 shot through the steel plate. I normally shoot at 2 shots through the steel plate, but on the first shot, one of the blades got really mangled and twisted up, and I didn't want to shoot it a second time for fear it was going to come back and hit me or just embed in my target and I wouldn't be able to get it out. So it did not do well in this steel plate round. Here it is after the cinder block, and you saw how it performed in the steel plate. The blades unfortunately got bent up and broke off, but in the cinder block, that ferrule held up quite well. So what'd you think? Hey, I can see why a lot of people really like these heads. There's a lot of strengths going for them. You know, like in archery, everything's a trade-off. So if you look at the main areas that I test, you'll see it in the score sheet that comes up, the summary of it, or you can look at the breakdown that's in the video description. I go through every single test and how it scored in that. But you see, like in flight, it got like what would be an A+, flew really well. In the blades, it got like what would be a B+ for sharpness and edge retention. For penetration, got like what would be a B+ in that as well. But then when you get into durability, it was a little bit hurting in durability, got like what would be a C-. And then it got docked just for its cut size, because that's one of the things I test for is cut size. It got what would be a C- in cut size. But overall, did very well. So you check out the score sheet and see how it performed in the areas that matter to you the most, and see if it might be a good fit for you. And stay tuned for the overall cumulative score, as well as the corresponding Lusk grade. And also stay tuned for a list of all the discount codes that I can offer to just save you some money. I put them in a slide at the end of every video, but then I also put an updated list of those codes in the video description. So search through that before you're ever buying something, because you might find something that saves you a chunk of change. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Matthew, for donating this Broadhead, and I look forward to seeing you next time.